Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Body Parts. It's about a criminal psychologist who loses his arm in a car accident, and then while he's in the hospital is given an arm transplant by a doctor with a bunch of crazy new ideas. And so she gives him an arm transplant, but of course it is an arm belonging to an executed serial killer. And then he starts to notice after he's gotten the arm that he's taking on violent traits and his arm is doing violent things beyond his control that he can't explain. And he's trying to track down the other people who got the executed serial killer's body parts, so the people who have the other parts of his body don't perform more violent acts. If you're wondering why I'm reviewing this film from 1991, it's not because I've ever seen this before or like this director or anything like that. It's because my birthday's coming up. My birthday is August 2nd. This film was released on August 2nd, 1991. That would have been my 8th birthday. There are ads for this movie on TV. A lot, I guess. I don't remember how often they were on, but I remember every time they'd come on and it would say August 2nd. I was afraid that for some reason everyone would like not want to be around me on my birthday and go see this movie. But I don't know why I thought that. No one said to me like, I want to do something with you on your birthday, but Body Parts is coming out, so I can't. But after I watched Body Parts, sure, nothing like that happened. My parents were not horror fans. They didn't even like horror. I don't even know if they knew this movie was coming out. I don't know if they could have named it at the time. No babysitter who was into horror movies said, oh shit, I'm seeing Body Parts like the day it comes out. There is literally no justification for me thinking what I thought. And I never, I think, even told anyone before I shot this video, which is weird. I tracked it down through Box Office Mojo because I just was like, what were the wide releases around my birthday when I would have been before 10 but older than 5, and anything that's like a medical horror movie. And the only one that was even close to that was this. So I'm assuming it was this movie. If it's not and someone can come up with a different one that was in the early 90s, then sure, but I couldn't find it. I wish it was something cool like Dead Ringers. Of course it's not. The interesting thing I did find out though is the ads were actually pulled from Wisconsin because of the Dahmer killings at the time. I lived in Maryland, so I didn't have that luxury. No, that was a bad choice of words. So I kind of was thinking about a movie I'd like to see before my birthday because I'm turning 30, and I thought, well, what would be a cool movie to watch to like be like, oh, I finally saw it and now I know. And I thought maybe if I can track this down. So I did. And I have now seen it. And despite my crazy idea when I was 8 that it would be a really big hit and no one would want to hang out with me, it opened 8th at the box office. I don't know why I thought this. Clearly, I should not have been making box office predictions when I was 8. I kind of felt like I want to see it, get it over with, and be like, now I know. And is this a scary movie, or was it based on the viewings of a kid who knew nothing about horror? And I thought it looked really scary. And I actually got to see the TV ads, which are on YouTube. They don't seem to me to be that scary. And much like another film that I used to be scared of the ads when I was a kid, and then when I grew up and I saw the movie, I was very disappointed by Fire in the Sky. I was pretty disappointed by this. There are some good things about it. The concept of taking a body part of a killer and doing a transplant is a really old concept. There were versions of it in the silent era. And the thing about it is, to me, I think it's a very EC Comics type of idea. And if you do it in a very EC Comics way and have fun with it, you can have a lot of fun with this concept. The director of this film, Eric Red, also wrote Near Dark, and his big thesis script from the AFI was the original The Hitcher. So he was a successful screenwriter and he parlayed that into a directing career. So he got to make Body Parts, which was his second major feature film. The problem with this film in this kind of version, and I've seen a better version, would be Toby Hooper's segment in the film Body Bag. They have Mark Hamill and he gets the eyes of a killer. And Mark Hamill had a lot more fun with it. And Toby Hooper obviously had a lot more fun with it. That this film didn't really want to be a straight horror movie. Body Parts is like too snooty about horror to really have fun with it, and that's the problem. It's like trying to be a thriller, and it's just not in love with the concept enough. The criminal psychologist gets one arm. This painter gets another arm, which is like the only good concept this movie has, is the painter. And then this guy who lost his legs gets the legs, which that's nothing really fun happens with that guy. And the painter is played by Brad Dourif, who also did the voice of Chucky and was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he's a great character actor and a great actor. I would see that movie. I wish the movie was about this painter and he started painting the imagery that the criminal psychologist kept seeing in his brain. And they do nothing fun with the criminal psychologist. There's no concept with that. He, of course, figures it out sooner, but it's not like they're doing anything with that. And I don't really like Jeff Fahey. I think there's a whole weird casting decision in the 90s to pick really boring male leads. It wasn't really having fun with any of its staging when it had these like big sequences that were really supposed to sell the film. They have a fight sequence that's in slow-mo that just made it extra boring. Like, it didn't like show like, oh my god, I'm fighting because I have this hand, I'm out of control. They weren't having any fun. They weren't doing anything with the concept. They weren't showing him out of control. You're supposed to kind of get that. I think it was trying to be subtler, but it ended up just being stupid. That just shows like they don't really know how to do it pronounced, so they just do it in a horrible crap way. There is one thing I actually really love about this movie, and it's the score. The director didn't use the score in the best places, and I don't know if maybe they didn't make enough score. The 90s were really well known for overscoring, which John Williams, I think, is really responsible for, and they were very influenced by Bernard Herrmann. And the score in this film, which is by this guy, I hope I don't pronounce his name wrong, Loke Dicker, also worked on The Fourth Man, a Verhoeven film. It's a really good score, and you actually hear theremin in there, and it's not ironic theremin. I feel like any time we use theremin since the 50s horror movies, it's been ironic, but he really does it in a very serious way, and it's really a good score. I really like the score a lot, and I think it's cool that he used the theremin. I wish there was more of it. If you're gonna overscore, overdo it, but it felt like a lot of times most of the scoring was when they have like a big kind of establishing shot to just make that more exciting. But then, you know, the first time he moves his arm, it would have been cool if there was like a crazy like violin thing or something, or a little theremin, but they just don't do it, which I didn't really understand. Like, there are just some sequences where like, wouldn't you want to make that more shocking and vibrate with the audience? And it's like, felt like the score was like, yeah, but look, he's walking into his job as a teacher. Not the score's fault. The music itself was great. I just didn't think it was used in the best way. I hate when people do this psychological thriller thing, because most of the time that's really just code for a bad horror movie or a bad thriller that just can't do what it's trying to do very well. You really have to be pronounced when you're doing these things. You really have to be clear visually. Even though this film, I think, makes good use of widescreen, I was noticing like there'd be people at other ends of the frame. Like, I don't think you could actually see, I don't know how they do this movie pan and scan. There'd probably be someone talking to someone off screen most of the time. So that is interesting, but they don't shoot it very well. There's no real love of this kind of concept. It's like trying to be more adult about it. It's like, I guess this is kind of the thing about, this is a post-Cronenberg idea, but without any of the creepiness from the body horror. Like, I wasn't really creeped out by the body thing. And there was a big plot revelation because he has a tattoo on his arm right here that like only an inmate on death row would have, supposedly, and he like just doesn't notice it. Like, how often, like seriously, if you had a tattoo right here, you would notice it, right? I think I would notice something like that, but you know, I never have had an arm transplant, so I guess I don't know. I was scared of the idea of this movie when I was a kid, but I didn't know shit about horror. It took very little horror imagery to really scare me as a kid. And now, knowing a lot more about horror and the history of horror and understanding a lot more about horror movies, seeing a movie like Body Parts, I can honestly say I don't really like this movie. It's not a very good movie, and had I not had that experience as a kid, there is really no reason anyone would ever see this movie. It's very incredibly unnotable. Really, I think the only great things about this movie are Brad Dourif and the score. I'm glad I finally saw it, and 8-year-old Jim stood up to this scary movie that everyone was supposedly going to see on my birthday, even though there was no justification for it. So if you have seen Body Parts and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.